Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 New Order Germany. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So last time we have, we tried to make some amends with the Americans. But when Mr. Borman wants to go visit Washington, D.C., all of a sudden, the Americans, they're like, no, you stay over there. I see how it is. I allow you to come to Stockholm, meet with the Fuhrer, and then I can't meet the President of Washington. I see how you deal with this. Anyways, aside from that, we're dealing, next up with the Japanese. And our attitude towards Japan versus Italy or the United States, let's just say it's going down a different path. The Tante, we're not as interested, so to speak. I mean, we could do the art of diplomacy, sure. But what are the we chose the policy of Tante with Japan in the sphere. I mean, we could try the Tante with everybody. But what if we confront the Japanese instead, right? Diplomacy, plant the seeds, underhanded deals. I think we go for the anti-sphere. I think we just increase tension with Japan. We've done the Tante with two countries. We should confront one of them, and I think that confrontation is going to be the Americans, or with the Japanese, I should say. Because here's the thing: like Italy, you could go immediately straight to confrontation against the Italians. You actually cannot immediately confront the Americans. With the United States, you have to try to negotiate, but then sometimes it'll fail. Italy, you're allowed to confront them immediately. Japan, you also technically get the choice, but we're going to go for the glory of battle. Anyways. Borman stood at the podium. It was a smaller square than what we usually make such an important announcement at, but it would be terrible optics to announce the reverse of Hitler policy in a square named after him. And while all the big squares are named after Hitler. He leaned to the microphone and began a redefinition of the racial hierarchy of all humanity. German folks, he began. I have great news. Far from the fatherland, across these Mongols in the Russian waste, lies the Empire of Japan. These people were once, I am ashamed to say, friends of the German nation. Indeed, we stood side by side, destroying the Bolsheviks, the Jews in America, and all else who stood in our way. The world was divided between our two great empires. Indeed, such was their friendship that even allowed them to have a status of honorary alienship, to be allowed to stand with us and the German nation. Borman's voice grew a darker turn at the moment, releasing with the anger with him of Germany. But they betrayed us. They broke our alliance, proving that they are puppets of judo Bolsheviks like the rest of them. Indeed, the status of their race was built on a lie, and that they are allies of the Aryan race. Such treacheries should have severe repercussions. As of this day, the honorary Aryanship of the Japanese race has been retroactively revoked. It has been entirely built upon a lie, and it was a mistake. The Japanese are as low as any Slav, no, any Jew. They are enemy of the Aryan race and an opponent of humanity's purity. It is responsible for the German vote to fight against this menace for the sake of our children. Now, when you give a speech like that, I have no idea how the hell you could possibly try to do a little bit of a detente with them. Hey, Japan, I know to the public we said that you are the scum of the earth, but what if we really negotiate at least a little bit? I don't see how, if I was the Japanese government, I don't think I would, let's just say I wouldn't take too kindly to that. Okay, mission production equipment, that's all of our planes. Again, plane stuff, we're fine. So Japan, do you hate us, by the way? Surprisingly, only a -10. I'm assuming this is because we're technically a different ideology. Because they're fascist and we're technically, yeah, we're National Socialist. So it's technically a different ideology as far as the game's concerned, which I guess makes sense for this kind of mod. 1.33 per day. Okay, more trains, more trains. Let's fucking go. We're trained up today. Walter Howell strode into the cabinet room with his usual polite smile. He sat down swiftly, shoveling his document, and took a deep breath from the glass, deep gulp from the glass of water awaiting him. Apologies for being late, my Fuhrer. Howell thumbed through the documents and slid 2 sheets of paper towards the end of the table. Borman took a long drag from a cigarette as he plucked them up with his free hand. I compiled a summary of the 2 most realistic courses of action regarding Japan. The safest option would be a mild detente, allowing us to ease tensions and open up diplomatic relations. Alternatively, we could take a more confrontational approach, treat them as a threat on the world stage, and try to turn any potential allies away from them. It's about time we had a concrete approach to Japan, Borman responded. The various Reich ministers seated around the table are not in agreement. The yellow race is cunning, but ultimately cowardly. Roads tend to scurry when you turn your gaze towards them. The cabinet roared with laughter. Opening relations with Japan would benefit the Reich, Balder von Schmidt interjected pompously. We mustn't rattle our sabers at the nuclear superpower. My ministry has spent countless hours formulating a confrontational approach, Hill snapped. He has grown weary of aristocracy's pretensions. It's called tough diplomacy. Balder von Schmidt adjusted his school uniform. immaculate uniform with a annoyed face. Borman scrunched his face with deep thought. His smoked cigarettes verged slipping from his fingers. Yeah, I think we'll do confrontational here. The glory of battle. So we're gonna increase tension with you. Honestly, the military, or not the military is getting more power. Do we give a shit? I don't think we do, because they literally have no power at all. Like in any, like they're not close to being powerful in any respect. Like we've crushed them. Okay, again, I want everybody on side. Okay. Oh, Salazar is dead in Iberia. Which does lead to an interesting situation for us. Can I do anything with Iberia? The answer right now is no. Let's recruit ourselves another operative. Because they might completely collapse. And if Iberia was to collapse, we might be able to install a friendly government into Spain. Or into Portugal, or both, for example. I think that would be quite nice. Morocco probably declared independence. These other African territories probably declare independence as well. But we'll kind of have to wait and see. And yeah, everyone else is still friendly with us. I do have so much political power. I really don't know what to do with it. Like, they're not really... Do we have a political power sink? I mean, we have this, which we could sink political power into. But does that really do anything for us? Not really. Okay. So let's go first. I mean, Afghanistan already likes us. We're already friendly with Afghanistan. So let's see if Afghanistan will be willing to align themselves with Germany. Warren Borman stared at a map over his desk. He became a regular customer of German cartographers by this point. A modern map of Asia, from the confusing, most likely inaccurate portrayal of Russia, to the Italian Middle East, to the Japanese East Asia. And of course, in between all of those, this fourth world, the neutral nations under the control of no global superpower, independent from the blocs locked in this Cold War. Here, he would find his allies. Iran was an obvious choice. The government was already somewhat aligned with the Reich, and it would not be difficult to get them to partner with Germany against the Japanese Empire. There are rumors of internal instability, but those rumors existed for almost every country on the globe. There's not much reason to pay them any mind. The next country was another obvious one, India. Though the Indian government tended to lean far more left than the Reich would find appropriate, there were rumors of their partnership with the Americans in some areas, and the modern world is all about realpolitik. It was impossible to pass down a partnership with a nation that big, and with such a good reason to hate Japan. They were occupying their territory, for God's sake. Finally, Afghanistan. It was less powerful and less developed than the other two, but that doesn't matter. What matters is that Afghanistan is a graveyard of empires, and there is a certain empire that Borman would like to dig a grave for. Thus, Afghanistan becomes the third piece in the anti-Japanese pact. So we add anti-terror vanguard. Our strength in the Middle East will improve. I mean, that sounds good. Do we have any missions in the Middle East? Foreign policies. Not exactly. And also, India is my favorite Middle Eastern nation. Okay, so camouflage at 32.5%. We'll probably send somebody to come spy in Russia. Probably on the West Russian Revolutionary Front would make the most obvious sense. Yeah, but India, Iran, because you already like us. You're puppets of Afghanistan. You're just kind of hanging out. And then Iran, Virgin Anglo-Iranian Oil Company. Ownership of the company is transferred to Germany. So we have oil stocks in Iran. And India. I mean, it says they're already in the American sphere, so I'm assuming that India is not going to really... You're not available, you're not available. You do have an aggression pact with the Italians, but I don't think that matters. So probably go Afghanistan and Iran first, because they're the ones that are explicitly not already leaning towards one major power. India being pro-America is a little annoying. I mean, it's not unexpected, but it's definitely annoying. German tension increase will go up to 65%. Yeah, I think we want to go to Tehran next. Borman touched down in Kabul after a long, arduous, extremely tedious route. Flying in from a helicopter, taking off from a carrier, and then he was taken by plane. Over an extremely long route to avoid hostile airspace. He was more than ready to get off his helicopter and meet this King Mohammed Shah. The palace was a great sight, better than the rest of Kabul. No magnificent pillars of gold like the mythical kings of old, though Borman did find the rugs rather pretty. There was a giant chair which Borman figured to be some kind of throne, but it was empty. Rather excellent. As Borman would not stand for having to meet some Muslim in a great throne above him, he was led to his side chamber where he saw King Muhammad sitting at a table waiting for him. "You are an enemy of Japan," Borman was direct. Drawing out the conversation didn't have much use to him. "This is correct," the king said. "There are millions of Afghanis who are also enemies of Japan. Unfortunately, there are not millions of guns to match." "I get your point. The Reich has more guns than soldiers, and I am sure you'll find their way to Afghani hands soon. If you are as great an enemy of Japan as you say." "I am? Then you have nothing to fear. The Reich will ensure Japan's enemies are strong." A smile came from Muhammad's face. Perhaps his Sherman was quite reasonable after all. "Now," the Shah said, "we have economic questions to discuss." Borman stifled a groan. "Now, a railway here would allow an easy link to our mines to a new industrial sector here, and maybe a little bit over there as well. But again, Afghanistan, me and Afghanistan, we love each other. Plus 100, plus 100. We're good friends. Now, will they join our faction? I don't know. Will they become like pack observers or something of the sort? Well, probably the Eastern Knights will probably kind of solve that question. Again, I'm not expecting the give me more army bases. I'm not expecting the Indians to be on our side, but that's okay. I mean, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. That's a 66%. Okay, we'll throw you here. Okay, Reichswehr, let's again put you into loyal. I mean, I guess I could just spend a ton of points, like getting you guys up to like 100%. Yeah, I mean, that seems okay. So what are we at right now? 87.4 versus 12.5. Again, none of you actually ever do anything, right? I think there's probably information about this, but they just don't actually do anything, which I guess is kind of okay. I mean, it's not a huge deal one way or the other. Effects of the anti-siege vanguard will modify it to go up a little bit more. Then we do the enemies to the east, get some more stability here, and then a heist for the ages. If we can get the Republic of China to become a not necessarily a friend, but a well, can we get them like to rebel against Japan? I'm not too sure. I mean, that would be really nice for us, for sure. Our place in the sun, naval exercise have successfully concluded, and a visit to the Shah. Walter Howell had been idling for a few minutes in the waiting room of Shah Palace when the Shah's aide invited him into the office. Mohammed Reza Pahlavi was dressed in a military uniform and flanked by his imperial guards. "Your Majesty," exclaimed someone impatiently. "Toronto's magnificent. I see your architects have taken some inspiration from our own," he said with a grin. "Of course, Minister Howell. We have all want our capital to reach the heights of Germania one day," responded the monarch, seeming a bit nervous. Nervous was good, Howell thought. He could use that. 1 hour had passed, and the meeting went on. Howell's main goal was to reaffirm the Reich's commitment to Iran and its defense, but also to learn about rumors of the Shah's opposition, who seemed braver than ever lately. His ride from the airport to the palace had been insightful. Toronto was indeed more beautiful than ever, but one could see the decay and the unrest among the people. What the minister needed was to hear from straight from the lion's mouth. "So, while we can expect some aggression from the Iraqis," the Shah was in the middle of a sentence when Howell raised his hand in dismissal. "Your Majesty, forgive me for my bluntness, but you and I both know Iraq is no frontier nation." Howell adjusted himself in his seat as the Shah remained stunned and went on. "I'll be even more direct. Our intelligence reports indicate your opposition is growing bolder every day that passes. What I need to report to the Führer is, must the Reich turn its gaze to Iran, or do you have the situation under control?" The Shah's first thought was how the ministers would never interrupt him so abruptly. His second, he soon voiced, "We may need the Reich's assistance in the future, Minister Howell." Okay, we get a new special mission. Of course, we're going to send you to Iran immediately. So what's our chance succeeding here? We need Navkampf training. So I can't do this. I need you. I wish I could really change this out, because yours still will take... Yeah, this is still going to take forever. Has at least one agent available. We will get ourselves a mission. I wish we could have more recruitment slots, or more research slots, because 2.5%, I will say, isn't really fast enough. Is there any way I can boost this any faster? Like, if I cut budget, this will go slower, presumably. Investing budget will enhance both training and researching development growth speeds. I mean, I will say it hasn't really changed. It's been 2.5% for a while. I don't know if we've actually maxed this out or what. Okay, Socialist Labour Party of England has re-elected. Okay, so the Socialists are still in control of England, which I guess isn't rather surprising. But what's their plan, huh? What do you think the English are up to? Peace conference. Who is at war? Allied victory in West Africa. Allied being presumably Free France? I'm not sure. Well, yeah, Nigeria switched sides. You are no longer socialist. So presumably Cameroon lost their war. Which I guess... I mean, it doesn't really matter so much which way the winds flow in Africa. I want to then do... International Forum. The noise of the water rushing into the small waterfall combined with the chirps of the birds made the garden a breathing, living environment. Flowers of all color decorated the surroundings, creating a pleasant visual spectacle for the observer. For the covered gallery, the German ambassador opened his arms with admiration. Ah, what a beauty! Wildflowers, roses, carnations, there are flowers of every kind. At his side, the Indian diplomat smiled proudly. I appreciate your good taste, Ambassador. Maintaining this garden is not cheap, and compliments are always welcome. After admiring the flower beds for a few moments, the ambassador decided to concentrate on his mission. The Japanese and their lackeys are a potential threat to your government. I suggest that you should adopt a more aggressive posture. The yellow race smells weakness like sharks smell blood in the water. The expression of the Indian diplomat changed, taking offense to the comment. With all due respect, Ambassador, I don't think that you just described my nation as weak. The ambassador gulped a bit, but he quickly hid his with a forced laugh. Of course not, my friend. India has never been so strong. However, a country that underestimates their enemies is always doomed to fail. The ambassador turned his head back to the gardens, making a fake sigh of concern. Can you imagine what the Yazidi barbarians would do to this wonderful garden? For a moment, the Indian diplomat could imagine a garden reduced to ashes and the awful smell of corpses and burning petals intoxicating the air. His German counterpart smugly noticed the concern in his face. At that moment, one of them could only think of one thing. I got him. Hey, India is now pro... Well, they like us more. I'm appreciative of that. But I think that at least for right now, this is going to be a good time for us to end this episode. So if you enjoyed, my thumbs up. Not enjoying, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe. And goodbye.